Hi guys, this is Skittflash here, and welcome back to more Super Metroid. In the last part, we started the game. Again, it's not like there's exactly a compelling story in this game, so there's not too much to explain, unless you want to explain stuff I did and things I got, in which case we got things and stuff. Okay, I think the interesting thing about these pipes is they typically always infinitely spawn enemies, which you can use to grind and get things. I don't think I'm going to be able to get any super missiles out of these guys. Typically that's a more rare drop. But yeah, if you want to grind on, like, if you're low on energy and need, you know, refills on life, those things will always spawn enemies. But speaking of spawn, back up to the top right of this room is the boss, is actually a boss entrance to a boss place. That, you know, where you fight a boss, because, you know, redundancy. But we won't be going there because, you know, if you haven't caught on yet, the theme of this Let's Play is going to be breaking all sequence, any and all sequence, and where ain't nobody got time to be fighting a boss. Come on now. So we'll be skipping him. The way you do that is if you just jump and bomb right here, you'll notice little thing over here. Now this is actually an exit, but we'll be using it as an entrance. As you can see, you need super missiles to get in. The thing is, we're not supposed to have super missiles yet, but if you do it, I'm very surprised I was able to do that the first time. Usually that takes me more trouble. Maybe I'm making up for my, my mock ball bullshittery. But yes, if you have super missiles, because you got them early, because you did the mock ball, again, this just creates a chain of events. You can actually get super... The way you get super missiles originally is by beating Spore Spawn and dropping all the way down here. Like, typically you do this, like, you know, this giant drop thing and drop all the way down and get these super missiles for the first time. And then now you have super missiles and all is well in the world. But because we got super missiles, we can do that early. And that's nice. And I get the feeling that there's going to be a giant weed whacker about to, you know, assault everyone's ears in a second. So I'd highly apologize if that's a thing. But now that we have super missiles, all is right in the world. I mean, that is so last part. We've had super missiles for a while now, so I guess that's not too impressive. But more missiles are always fine. Handing them out like candy. Usually you have to look for these things. This is just like, oh, hey, yo, take some missiles, man. And down here is thing, right? Charge beam. Okay, so, the charge beam is one of the more necessary things to get in the game, I think. If you ever run out of missiles, the charge beam is kind of like one of the only other things that can actually hurt bosses. A lot of the bosses are just immune to your normal beam cannon, so like having the charge beam is actually pretty necessary to hit a lot of them. So, you know, if you ever run out of missiles, which is what you're normally going to be using to kill bosses, then the charge beam is kind of a necessity. Of course, typically bosses always do things that, like, you know, where you can shoot their projectiles and get missiles, but, you know, having the charge beam is kind of, it's just right there. There's no reason not to get it. Unless you're getting a low percent run. I've never actually looked into too many low percent runs. I've seen a lot of speed runs, and that's where I, like, you know, learn most of my shenanigans. But low percent runs I haven't looked at too much, so I think it'd be interesting to look at. Okay, so here we are in an interesting room. This is known as the new bridge room, but more on point. Those thorny guys pretty much typically almost always drop super missiles. So if you're ever in need of super missiles, these are probably the guys to look for. Typically when you kill them, the guys that shoot thorns like this, they pretty much always drop a super missile. So what's special about this new bridge is that in this game there's a run button, and if you don't know there's a run button, which many people who first play this game don't actually know there's a run button, you won't actually be able to, like, get past here without running. Now, instead of running, I just did the mock ball, because I had to, you know, make up for my mishaps last time, and I just like showing off because I'm a horrible person. But, that's how you'd get past that. You need to use the run button, and this is, again, the run button is probably one of the reasons why I think that, like, you know, this game kind of controls kind of awkwardly at first, just because you have to, you know, use 3 buttons at once. But anyways, what I'm doing now is I'm taking a little detour, and if you ever see these those guys, you might think they're invincible. They can actually be killed by super missiles, and you don't actually have to kill them, but they make doing what I just did much more simple, because, you know, that's actually a pretty complicated maneuver. That's one of the tougher wall jumps, but it definitely one of the more satisfying things to do. And if you ever get caught in these things, just mash, mash, mash. You gotta be careful in this room, much more careful than I'm being, much more careful than I'm being, because we're technically doing things like way out of order. The enemies here kind of do a lot more damage, much more than you logically think they would. But we're just going here to pick up a little thing we need really quick. And that would be down here. As you can see, that door is yellow, so there's no coming back until we actually get something that opens yellow doors. If I haven't explained this yet, blue doors can be opened by anything. Red doors require 5 super missiles or 1. No, they require 5 missiles or 1 super missile to open. Because again, super missiles are 5 times the power of normal missiles. And yellow doors, green doors require super missiles. They only require 1 super missile, but yellow doors require power bombs, and now we have those. Again, we're not supposed to have these yet in the slightest, but because, you know, the whole exploitable wall jumping thing, this game just becomes our bitch. That's probably the easiest way of putting it. And again, this is probably like the main reason why I like it. Like, when I think about it, this is probably the main reason why I like this game so much. Simply because you can do all these crazy things and just totally break sequence. I mean, obviously, none of this is intentional. They weren't being like, yo, man, if they use like this wall jump, like crazy set of wall jumps, they can get like all these power-ups we intended for them to get earlier now. Obviously, I don't think that was their mental process. If it was, bravo, kudos to them. But, I just love stuff like that. Whenever, like, you know, you're rewarded for skill, that's always just the funnest. So in here's a save point. I'm not sure if I actually want to save. I mean, it'd be recommended because, again, with all the, like, powerful enemies here, should I die, oh god, I'm gonna get hit, but yeah. Okay, I suddenly kind of want to... Look at that, that almost killed me, Jesus. Oh god, I wish I saved. Okay, so I'm back to where I once was. This time, I'm a responsible person and saved. I love how my recklessness bit me in the ass. Like, not even like 10 seconds into the thing. The thing is, like, I chose not to save because I was like, you know, I have like so much health already, and you know, 2 whole energy tanks, big whoop. But the thing is, what I forgot is that these guys just do a ton of damage, and, like, you know, again, we're kind of in a place where, like, you know, that's much more like ahead of where we should logically be in the game, because, you know, sequence breaking and whatnot. That's a fun little glitch to do that propels you backwards if you press the opposite direction. There's no, like, sequence breaking uses for it, but it's certainly much faster than walking. But again, because we don't have the items that help our defense that we'll be getting later in the game, and because we simply just don't have enough energy tanks to take hits like that, those enemies will kill you, like, obscenely quickly. I think they do, like, at least, like what, like 60 damage a hit? Maybe even a tank? I don't know, something horribly ridiculous. And I don't need any of that in my life. You know what? I'm just gonna wait patiently for life to flow to me, because I am dying. I am dying badly, and I just don't need any of that. Luckily, these guys, you know, typically drop HP. As I was saying before, some enemies are more likely to drop other things than, like, you know, other people. Like, for example, those guys would be more likely to drop HP, whereas the spiky guys are pretty much always dropping super missiles and whatnot. But other than that, I think this run has been fine. Everything's been going out pretty swimmingly so far. I don't think I need to go in that room. I don't think I ever do. Again, this is where my memory starts getting a tad fuzzy, because I don't quite remember everything, my exact route that I would usually go on, but that's fine, I guess. Right here is a much needed energy refill place. Refills all our energy, except our auto tanks. I didn't know that. I thought they'd, you know, do us a solid and do it for us, but I guess they don't. But you know what? Those energy refills are fine enough as they are. Okay, water in this game is the absolute devil. it slows you down so much, and it just makes things complicated. You don't want to be in water in this game, for now. So, anywho, as you can see, there's a crack up there. Normally, we need the high jump boots. Those are a thing, by the way, to get up here. But because, like, you know, again, sequence breaking all the sequence, none of that is necessary. And as a result, we can get yet another item early. This, I just wasted a super missile, but this would be the Spazer Beam. It increases your beam power by 3 times, I guess, but that's mostly because it just threw 3 beams. The real nice use for the Spazer Beam is actually that it increases your range, like how wide your shots are. If you've noticed, like, you know, it used to be one small little beam, but now it's like 3 long beams, and that just helps. It helps, you know, hit stuff and whatnot. So over here is a place I used to get stuck a lot as a kid. We won't be doing anything here, but just keep that in mind. That's a thing. And that's like one of the bigger puzzles in the Super Metroid game, if I think so. But over here is another thing. How they expect you to find this, I'm assuming it's probably written on a map or something. But again, we're not supposed to be here until we get the high jump boots. But again, this is going to be a reoccurring theme. Because we can wall jump, we can go to places unexplored and never inhabited before by non-high jump boots people. Because, you know, I'm so good at English, guys. But anywho's, up here, fortunes all around. So the reason we backtracked and, you know, took a detour and died because of it, to get the super bombs, is because this is actually a huge, like, detour. Like, this is Kraid's lair, and it's sort of out of the way. You'll never have to come back here. Like, you might notice I'm skipping a lot of rooms. That's because I know I'm gonna have to go back there and, like, do some backtracking, and I figure, like, you know, I'll just leave that stuff there for when I have to backtrack and get it later. But this place, you'll never have to come back to again, unless you didn't have super bombs, which you're not really supposed to by the time you come to Kraid's lair. And as a result, we'll have to come back here to get that one missile tank because you don't have super bombs. But, you know, I figure that's lame. So instead of like, you know, doing that, I just figure I'll get the super bombs early, and then, you know, get that missile early, and then I'll never have to come back to Kraid's lair, and that's fine, and that's lovely, fine and dandy. As you can see, locked room, time to wall jump, because if there's any time I have to wait, I'm typically going to be jumping on a wall, because this is just the funnest thing ever. It's just, it also helps my timing, like a lot of people, the main complaint, like the main reason they can't they have a hard time doing, the wall jump is because they don't know the timing. But when you're doing it for unnecessary stuff like that, and super missiles absolutely just wreck Kraid, by the way. But when you're doing it for unnecessary stuff like that, it sort of just becomes second nature. Like, the timing is like muscle memory at this point in time. So, you know, I recommend doing it just for fun. Again, that's a skill I had a lot of time to practice. So, like, again, this is actually one of those games that, like, I've practiced a lot more, and that's mostly thanks to my, like, you know, free time childhood. Like, a lot of the games I consider Let's Playing are games, like, I practice, like, now, like, that I haven't played as a kid, so obviously, you know, I have to practice them more than this game that I can just, like, you know, pick up, and I already have, like, most of the skills necessary to do the things I want to do. It's just a matter of developing a route, honestly. It's just like Banjo-Kazooie, like, it's less about doing, like, the trick shots, and, like, more about, like, just knowing where the hell it is you want to go. And over here, okay, we're just gonna kill a bunch of bugs, because thank you, super bombs. And we are running out of time, but I do know there's a save point coming up incredibly quickly, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm trying to think if there's any, like, new tricks I showed off. Not really. Besides the mock ball and wall jumping, I don't think I've employed anything else that's, like, particularly, like, you know, game breaking. But that's beside the point. Here we got an energy tank, which much needed. Those are probably my favorite power-ups, because we need all that energy. All the energy is necessary, because, you know, all that dying is not fun. Believe me. And, yes, okay, so there's a save point coming up, but I don't know where that is. I think, I know it's, like, one of the first rooms you can get to, because now we are, as soon as the elevator decides to tell us where we are in Brinstar. So, the elevator didn't tell us shit, by the way. I think the save point is in here? No, the save point is not in here. The save point is the lower one, I do believe. Again, I barely know the save points because I hardly use them. I think it's this one down here, right? It can only make sense. Yes, here we go. So we are at the save point. So in the next part, we will be exploring Norfair. We're in Norfair. That's where we are. Next time on Let's Play Super Metroid. Until then, this has been Skittflash. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Bye!